Holy smokes, what a weekend we had. A regional weekend in college baseball was turned on its head. It was off the rails. It was silly. It was stupid. It was drunk. It was all of those things. Kyle Schassberger and David Kahn are here over the next 45 minutes to an hour to talk about it and look ahead to a super weekend that we will have as only 16 teams remain. 64 entered this past weekend, and we've got 16. And we've got representation from the SEC that is lacking. Just 4 teams remained from the Southeastern Conference. 9 have been eviscerated, just erased from all memory here in the 2025 season. We'll touch on a couple of them, but we have 5 out of the ACC, a potential of 4 that'll make it to Omaha, just a potential for 3 that'll make it to Omaha for the SEC, as we've got 2 ACC showdowns, 2 SEC showdowns in the Super Regional round, and hello, Murray State. Hello, Duke Super Regional. They've never hosted a regional, and they're going to, at Jack Coombs Stadium, get Murray State and the Racers, who survived in Oxford. And then Coastal Carolina, a familiar foe, won it all in 2016. They might be my favorite at this point. They're going to have Auburn. They're going to go down to the Plains, a super regional there as well. Who am I missing, Con? UTSA. They did the unthinkable, knocking off the 2-seeded team, the number 2 national seed in Texas. UTSA is still hanging around. They'll play at Jackie Robinson Field against UCLA. And, wow, Vanderbilt, number 1 overall seed. See ya. Gone. What a weekend it was, David Kahn.
What a weekend it was indeed. I mean, there's so much to talk about. There was so much controversy in college baseball this weekend, too, which I think is kind of getting a little overlooked. I mean, you've got the mess that happened in Oregon where they had the excessive force on the base runner for Oregon that would have tied that game against Utah Valley. He gets ejected, has to miss the next game, and Oregon becomes one of the 7 1 seeds that are out after the regional round. You've got the AJ Gracia wearing the construction helmet, and he gets thrown out in Duke's regional clinching win over Oklahoma State. So now he's going to miss Super Regional Game 1. Ridiculous. We'll talk about it. We have sound. You, of course, have what went down in Coastal Carolina with Kevin O'Sullivan. We'll talk about that as well. But it was exciting baseball all weekend. I mean, you never knew. We talked about it coming into the tournament, Kyle. You never really thought that you'd seen a more wide open field than we had this year, and it proved to be exactly right because we had 13 SEC teams in, and 9 out of them are out. 9 of them are out. There's only 4 SEC teams left. The ACC has more teams left than the SEC, and they only got 9 teams into the field, and 5 of them survived. Number 1, Vandy. Number 2, Texas. Number 7, Georgia. Gone. 3 national seeds, all out of the SEC, ousted in their own regional. They would have been hosting super regionals, and they're done. What an absolutely thrilling weekend. I have talked so much freaking baseball over the last, God, what is 24 times 4? 96? Over the last 96 hours, my head is spinning, and there's potential we're doing more this weekend. We haven't firmed up the details yet, but a potential super regional rundown is in the works, folks. We'll let you know more later in the week. But, oh, my God, I have just been so ingrained in baseball, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It was amazing.
Con, hat tip to you, my friend, and the entire Regional Rundown crew. Thank you for all of those that tuned in on the Varsity Network app this past weekend as we had wall-to-wall coverage Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 10-hour shifts, all of those involved, but especially you for taking the lead on this as I was out a couple of days last week. And, it couldn't have been possible without you, DK. So thank you, the Hebrew Hammer, for coming up in the clutch. I knew I could depend on you, but everyone involved and certainly the listeners, all the support that we've had, phenomenal, scintillating radio magic this past weekend. And yeah, could be some more on deck for this weekend. And so, yeah, we had a front row seat in more ways than one to all of the action this past weekend. And it's hard to put a finger on one particular thing or lead the show with one thing. I think talking about the SEC only having the 4 teams remaining is sort of the lead for me because they got the 13 in, and my phone was blowing up over the weekend with SEC haters hoping and wishing and preying upon me getting behind this microphone on this podcast and taking the SEC to task. Well, I got news for you. I'm not going to necessarily drag them through the mud, but I am going to be slightly harsh, or at least call it as it is. It's inexcusable, I think, for a league that prides itself and portrays itself, rightfully so, the way that they are as the kings of college baseball with the best facilities, the best coaches. By the way, the SEC did take one from the ACC this past weekend. Brian O'Connor is officially now the next head coach at Mississippi State as he leaves Virginia. And you couldn't have made a better hire, I think, ever in the history of Mississippi State across all sports when you look at what Brian O'Connor has done in Charlottesville. Best hire ever, 885 wins in 22 seasons, 0 losing years, 5 years of 50-plus wins, 18 regionals, 9 supers, 2 national championship game appearances, and 1 title. You can't find a bigger fish out there, and Mississippi State did it. So good on the Bulldogs, and those are the dude. And there's been some great content that has come out. That's my SDA, kind of the 360 spin around camera. Brian O'Connor taking in the dude with the flashing lights and sweet drink, maybe a little John, on the back end of it, a little mix, if you will. And it's incredible that, the SEC needed that. They needed that hire, given the ACC took them to task this past weekend, and other schools like a Murray State comes into Oxford, and oh my, were the beer showers in high demand for the Revs, but for Murray State and so many other teams and other regionals. We had Wake Forest hit, 15 bombs? Did they get to 16? They got to 16 in the Knoxville Regional. OK State had hit 15 in the Athens Regional.
They hit 16 too, actually.
They got to 16, more than a mile worth of home runs, between these two schools. And we came off a week of Hoover where we saw just 20 home runs across 15 total games. And we see teams come within 4 of that across, 4 or 5 games this past weekend. Offense was in high demand, but so was pitching. That ECU loss to Coastal, the Coastal win 1-0 to win the Conway Regional. And there's fireworks off the field related to that regional that we'll get to. We have some sound from Kevin Schnall really laying into Kevin O'Sullivan. So there are so many different pieces of fabric that we can pull on. But the fact that the SEC only has 4 teams remaining and 1 all-SEC Super, which I wish it was more spread out because Arkansas and Tennessee going head-to-head in the Super. I'd rather have that in Omaha. However, they're going to meet. One of those 2 is going to go. So we know the SEC is guaranteed to have at least 1 team. But are they going to get 2 others? I don't know. They're not going to have the representation. And when the league has the facilities, the coaches, the dudes, they're the top-rated RPI league year in and year out, the most passionate fans collectively in that part of the country in the Southeast. For them to only have 4 remaining, it's inexcusable. It is a black mark on the SEC in 2025, and it starts with Vandy as the top overall seed and then Texas right behind them.
I mean, so I get everything you're saying, but I'm actually going to disagree with you here. Because listen, this is playoff baseball, all right? Anything can happen. We have seen this year in and year out. Now, normally, it is the SEC not being a national seed and coming in and sending other conferences to school. And this year, it's been flipped on its head. So, is it shocking that 9 of the 13 were eliminated in the regional round? Absolutely. I don't necessarily know if it's a black mark on the SEC. I more go to the other side of things of say, hat tip to the rest of the teams in the playoff, in the field. They did their job. They came in and got it done on the road in a hostile environment. I mean, you take a look at a team like West Virginia, who's won more road games than any team in college baseball this year. They don't care that they had to go to Clemson and beat Kentucky twice, an SEC team, and Clemson, the host seed. They don't care that they have to go to Baton Rouge this weekend and take on LSU, who barely survived against Little Rock yesterday, another 4 seed. It was almost 2 4 seeds in the super regional round. The NCAA tournament is pure chaos, and we love it for that exact reason. So I don't necessarily want to go in on the SEC too hard and say, shame on you for not getting more teams in. Did I predict that a lot of SEC teams would go to Omaha? Yeah, you bet. I've already lost 5 of my 8 Omaha teams. My national champion, Arkansas, is still around. Also LSU, also Coastal. But that's it. That's all I've got left. The rest of my bracket is redder than Kyle Schassberger's face after a 45-minute jog on the treadmill. So
there's not a lot of those going on. I have gotten a couple of miles in here or there, so I'm coming back. I'm working my way back, baby.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. As long as your pinched nerve is recovering as well. But here's the thing. Yes, do we think the SEC is supposed to get more than 4 out of 13 into the super regional round? Yes, but I love that they didn't. I love it. I'm here for it. Give me the parity. Give me the fact that we have 2 Big 12 in Arizona and West Virginia. We have UCLA out of the Big 10, UTSA from the American, Coastal from the Sun Belt. The Missouri Valley Conference gets a representative in supers for the 3rd straight year. Indiana State, Evansville, now Murray State as a 4 seed. And then we have little old independent Oregon State. All right. I love the parity. I love the spread. I'm here for it. This is awesome. And Super Regional Weekend is going to be scintillating. We have an all SEC, Arkansas, Tennessee, who just played in Fayetteville 2 weeks ago at the end of the regular season. Tennessee took 2 of 3. And then you've got Miami and Louisville, an all ACC battle. So we could, at max, get 4 ACC and at max get 3 SEC into the field. So let's go.
I'm trying to log into my bracket on d1baseball.com. I got too many logins floating around. I don't know where I'm seeing it, where I'm making my picks.
I'll find it.
You're going to need to update me. I had Vanderbilt losing to Arkansas. So Arkansas is still alive. But, yeah, I would assume that my bracket – I did have Cal Poly as a Cinderella, so they were not able to escape. Nope. Coastal is still there. I have them in Omaha, as do you. And for those that jumped in the bracket challenge, thank you, because we got some late entrants ahead of the gun at noon on Friday.
16 entrants, yes.
Yeah, we've got a nice pool of guys, and the winner of this, and gals, is going to get a 4-pack of Borgo Balls. So a 4-pack of Borgo Balls from the Backyard Baseball Bros, none other than the Bergonio brothers. You're going to get to experience it firsthand. So thank you again to what the Borgo Ball and the Backyard Baseball Bros have done all year. They're giving back to us. We're going to have a 4-pack mailed to the winner of our bracket challenge through d1baseball.com. So you can't join if you missed it. However, you can still go buy yourself a 4-pack of Borgo Balls. So go to backyardbaseballbros.com. Again, revolutionizing the indoor and outdoor baseball game. These soft foam balls with the raised seams. Kahn, you have one with you, right? Did you bring it in your office? Okay. There it is. Look at those seams. Look at those seams. Kahn, you're in a new office today, man. You filling out those dates?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in Mike Coulter's office because Rob Joyce has moved back to the East Coast where he belongs and taken my previous recording studio. All right, bracket challenge update. Kyle Schassberger, you and I are tied at 30 points apiece in 11th place.
Great.
You currently have 3 Omaha teams left: Coastal, UCLA, and Arkansas. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correct in the supers. I got 6. So there's our comparison.
Wow.
The current leader, ER Power 514. I have no idea who that is.
Good on ER Power, man.
44 points. He's number 17 overall in the bracket challenge, not just with us, everywhere. He's 17th.
Holy smokes.
He also had Arkansas versus Vanderbilt in the finals. He has Arkansas winning it. He still has 5 Omaha teams remaining: Arkansas, LSU, Auburn, Arizona, and Florida State. He got UCLA, Florida State, Oregon State, LSU, North Carolina, Arizona, Coastal, Auburn, Tennessee, and Arkansas. He got 10 out of the 16 correct into the field. That is a well done, ER Power 514. That is amazing stuff. There's your bracket challenge update.
Yeah, you the man. And with that, I will run through these matchups so people know the 16 teams that are left. And then I'm going to piggyback off your last point on the SEC and really the parity and how I think it's good, actually, that we've reached this conclusion. And it's not as SEC heavy for the overall well-being of the sport, right?
Yes,
so here are your matchups. Your all SEC and all ACC showdown. And I'm looking at the interactive bracket, which is a good way to, if you have your paper bracket, there's the left side, there's the right side. So these winners that come out of the 4 supers on the left side will be together in Omaha in bracket 1, and then you'll have bracket 2, which will be your 4 winners that come out of the supers on the right side of the bracket. So the top left quadrant, Miami and Louisville, all ACC showdown. Louisville able to beat Wright State, right, in the championship game? Okay. Louisville over Wright State in that regional final. Miami over Southern Miss in a regional final on Monday night. Southern Miss had a 9-run first inning in the first game against Miami on Sunday. Their second of 2 games for Southern Miss. They could not win their own regional in Hattiesburg. It's Miami who moves on. So Miami, Louisville, below them, Oregon State and Florida State. FSU, kind of a cakewalk. I mean, they didn't lose. So they swept through their regional, took care of Mississippi State, who was the 3 there. Northeastern was the 2. Mike Glavin got erroneously ejected in one of those games this past weekend. Again, dumb ump show stuff that was going on. Bethune-Cookman, hat tip to y'all. Best radio crew that I listened to this past weekend on the Rundown. Love the passion. This was professional stuff. I mean, educated, intense. They were on it. I hate that they went 2 in Q, but nonetheless, Florida State comes out. Oregon State survives over USC, having to come out of the losers bracket due to the Beavers to win in Corvallis. So Oregon State and Florida State. Then the remaining teams on the left side of your bracket, Chapel Hill, UNC. They didn't sweep through. Oklahoma gave them a run for their money up until the region. Up 2 out of those 3 games were not close, right? Yeah. North Carolina pounded them in the first meeting. North Carolina lost the Sunday night game where Oklahoma had to win 2 games on Sunday. And then Carolina took care of business on Monday night. Arizona, did they sweep through? They did sweep through. That would be the Eugene Regional.
Yes.
I don't believe the Wildcats lost. So Arizona comes out of the Eugene Regional. Oregon went 0-2. They were the first.
Utah Valley, Cal Poly. Yep.
Yeah, they were the first 16 seed to bow out. Big Ten co-champs with UCLA. Co-champ. I got a text from somebody this past weekend saying, "Are the Big Ten champs about to go 0-2?" And I was like, "Hey, buddy, are you talking about Nebraska?" Because I'm thinking the tournament. So I used it as a point to educate. Yeah, Nebraska won the title. They got the automatic bid. They stole the bid. They ended up losing in Chapel Hill, not winning a game, if I recall correctly. But Oregon, co-champs. They had the sign. They showed it on TV. It's a whole thing. We rehashed it a couple of weeks ago. So North Carolina and Arizona will be in Chapel Hill. That's a Chapel Hill Super. Auburn, they get through their regional on the Plains as the 4 seed. They will see 13-seeded Coastal Carolina. A lot of intense baseball going on in Conway. Florida, the injuries caught up with them, along with Kevin O'Sullivan in many ways, which I think was uncharacteristic. We'll litigate that here momentarily. Good on ECU for making the run that they did. That was an incredible game on Sunday night. The 1-0 loss. Conway, Coastal Carolina sweeps through there. So again, left side, Con. Then I'll let you take the right side. How about that? Left side. Okay. These are your 4 super regionals. Louisville and Miami. This will be played at Louisville. Is this
yes.
a Louisville Super? Yes.
Yes.
Louisville, because it's not the top seed, so it's not easy. There's a bidding process that goes on. There's certain super regional requirements that need to be met.
I thought it was if you're a 2 seed versus a 3 seed, then the 2 seed gets it. Is that not correct?
No, that is correct. That's more cut and dry, for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't have the seeding in my head ready at the hit, so I was
Louisville's the 2 seed.
Yeah. So I'm not looking at the seeding right now. So so Louisville is the 2, is hosting Miami. So it is a Louisville, Kentucky Super Regional. They'll be in Corvallis, Oregon State hosting Florida State, Chapel Hill for North Carolina and Arizona, and then Auburn as Coastal Carolina comes to the Plains. Those are all 2 out of 3 super regionals. That's the left side of the bracket. Half of the super regional field. Con will take you through the other half.
Yeah, so on the right side, we started the top quadrant, the Austin Regional, where the number 2 overall seed, Texas, goes down. They beat Houston Christian in their first game, but then they lost to UTSA, beat Kansas State, and then lost to UTSA in their second game as the Roadrunners, the American regular season champs, go 3-0 in the regional. They will move on to go out to Los Angeles to face the host UCLA, the number 15 overall seed, as UCLA, like UTSA, swept through their regional. Fresno State, Arizona State, UC Irvine, they beat each of them once. They beat all 3 teams. None of the games were relatively close. Bruins are hosting a super in Los Angeles at possibly the last games ever at Jackie Robinson Stadium. We'll talk about that as well.
Then talk about it right now, because we're not going to have time to come back to it. Their lease might be ending.
Apparently their lease is potentially expiring. So we may be seeing the last games for UCLA at Jackie Robinson Stadium. I'm going to get some investigation on this right now. I'm going to text Nick Cope, the voice of UCLA baseball, and he's going to give me some information on this as we go throughout this pod. Yes. Now we go to Oxford, where, like you said, Kyle, showers in right field ad nauseum was happening this week. I mean, Ole Miss, I think, had 15 home runs over the weekend. Georgia Tech hit a lot of bombs. There were some crazy games in that final. Murray State beats Ole Miss in the opener, which was insane. Ole Miss then has to come out of the losers bracket. They beat Western Kentucky. They beat Georgia Tech. They beat Murray State in their second game on Sunday. Meanwhile, Murray State had to outlast Georgia Tech to even get to the regional final. They come back. They win that 13-11. They lose to Ole Miss 19-8 in a bludgeoning. And then Murray State holds off Ole Miss. They were up 12-3 going to the bottom of the 7th last night. And then Ole Miss scores 5 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th and loses 12-11. Murray State becomes the 10th ever 4 seed to advance out of a regional into the super regional round. They get a trip to Duke, which I don't know if that game will be played at Jack Combs Field or
it will.
Or
it will
at
be
the
at the Coombs. It'll be at the
Coombs. Okay,
Yeah.
they've announced that. All right, it'll be at the Coombs. Okay, so they will go to the Coombs. They may have to bring in some extra seating there at the Coombs, but Duke will host at their home ballpark as Duke wins the Athens regional, not without controversy, though. Georgia, of course, the host seed, the number 7 overall seed, they lose to Duke on Saturday. So then they have to go play out of the loser's bracket, and Oklahoma State hits a walk-off bomb to beat Georgia and end their season on their home field at Foley Field. Kudzu Hill silenced, quietest it's ever been at Foley Field in a Georgia postseason game. And then Duke edges Oklahoma State 3-2, despite the fact that A.J. Gracia got wrongfully ejected. Unbelievably stupid move there, put out there, that they eject him because he walked out onto the field wearing the home run prop. He wasn't celebrating with it. He just still had it on his head from when they put it on him in the dugout when he hit the home run earlier in the game, and the umpire threw him out, so now he's going to have to miss Super Regional Game 1. I'm begging you, NCAA, change that. That is ridiculous, and a total ump show move. Should not have happened. Unreal stuff. I really hope they allow him to play in Game 1. I don't believe they will, but we'll see what happens. Baton Rouge, not without some fireworks as well, especially because of the weather. I mean, seemingly every game was delayed in that regional. LSU wins the first 2 games against Little Rock and DBU. Shutouts, 7-0, 12-0. You think, okay, Tiger's going to cakewalk through this regional. But no. Here comes little old Little Rock, a 22-10 bashing of Rhode Island. They beat DBU 8-6. They clobber LSU on Sunday night 10-4. And then they have a 5-1 lead on LSU in the second inning yesterday. And you're like, is Little Rock going to do this? LSU says no. 10-6. They come back. They win it at the end. Anthony Ianson closes it out as the Tigers will host a super regional against West Virginia, who we already mentioned came out of the Clemson regional. They beat Kentucky with a walk-off by Armani Guzman on Friday. They come back against Clemson, win that game in a wild one, and then against Kentucky in the regional final, in which Kentucky would have had to beat West Virginia twice. They can't even beat them once, as the Mountaineers come back from 2 5-run deficits. Armani Guzman has the go-ahead hit in the 8th inning. That was the game winner, 13-12. They bring in Griffin Kern, just like last year, Schass. They brought in Derek Clark, their lefty ace, to close it out in the 9th against Grand Canyon. This year, it's Griffin Kern, their lefty ace. He gets the final 3 outs, and the Mountaineers are back in the Super Regional for the 2nd straight year. And then the final pairing, we already mentioned it, Arkansas and Tennessee. The Hogs take care of business. No challengers in Fayetteville for Arkansas, and Tennessee goes through the first 2. They beat Miami of Ohio. They beat Cincinnati. They lose to Wake Forest on a walk-off walk, 7-6, the final there. The Deacs force a Game 7. Tennessee, though, their bats too much. Lindsey Nelson launching pad continues. Andrew Fisher home run late. They bring in Liam Doyle to close it out. The SEC Pitcher of the Year does his job, showed so much emotion on the field, and Tennessee gets the better of the Demon Deacons, so they will head to Fayetteville to face Arkansas in the Fayetteville Super Regional, and that is your right side of the bracket.
Arkansas with the program record 35th home win of the season and knocking off Creighton, sweeping through Fayetteville, and they're in a super for the 11th time in program history, the highest remaining team, highest seeded remaining team, being the number 3 overall seed, left in the field to 16 with Vanderbilt and Texas both bowing out. By the way, R.J. Austin, Jonathan Vastine combined 0 for 21 for Vanderbilt this past weekend. 0 for 21 with 7 strikeouts. Certainly not a recipe for the Vandy boys. Did you hear our friend Andrew Algretta and his final call? I felt for him, man. That was go back and listen to that one because that was tough. And that's hard. That's 4 straight regional exits for the Vanderbilt Commodores, which is hard to fathom. And this latest one is the number 1 overall seed. We just had Arkansas and Tennessee 3 weeks ago in Fayetteville. Arkansas taking 2 out of 3. And there's respect there between these two. That's putting it lightly, and it's going to be intense. It's going to be bonkers. That's my favorite super regional matchup. That will begin on Saturday. Some of these start on Friday. Some of these start on Saturday. Again, a 2 out of 3 series for those still in the field, and the winners will go to Omaha. We'll have 8 teams by Monday. By Monday night, the field will be set for the College World Series, which then becomes sort of a regional in your own specific brackets, bracket 1 and bracket 2, double elimination. 2 teams then will meet in the championship series, and then it's a super regional rehashed again, but with the national championship on the line for a best 2 out of 3. I want to
By the way,
up,
I should mention, I wasn't laughing at Andrew Allegretta's agony when Vanderbilt lost. I was laughing because I got a response from Nick Cope when I said, explain the Jackie Robinson situation. Okay. And he goes, how much time do you have?
Okay. All right. Well, maybe we can bring that up on Thursday's pod. I do want to get to the Chris Pollard sounds that you eloquently laid out what happened in the Duke game in their victory over Georgia the other night. But before I do, just because we've ran through all the matchups and the lack of SEC representation, I do want to second your point. This is great for college baseball. When you've got a UTSA, when you've got a Murray State, and Coastal is back to dance again amongst the final 16, this is incredible. The amount of engagement across different fan bases. Duke hosting their first ever Super. They're no stranger to the Super Regional round, but Chris Pollard has them on the doorstep of making it to Omaha for the first time ever. You've got the resurgence of Miami and Louisville, both meeting each other in the ACC. You've got a traditional blue blood, a national championship winning program in UCLA, who is welcoming UTSA to Jackie Robinson Stadium for what might be the last games ever played at Jackie Robinson Stadium. You have other name brand, historically good programs in FSU who has never won a national championship, going on the road to Corvallis, who had to piece together an independent schedule this year. And they get in as the last national seed and now are going to host the Super against FSU. Chapel Hill, North Carolina, has been a mainstay, a fixture in Omaha. They get another Super. They won in Chapel Thrill over West Virginia a year ago. Now they get Arizona coming to Chapel Hill. I don't know how much representation Arizona fans are going to have in Chapel Hill. Probably not much. UNC should be heavily favored. You think there'll be a lot of Arizona folks? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
They travel, man. They travel. Yeah.
Okay, why? Where's this intel coming from? Did they show up in Morgantown when you were there? Were they in full force?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, tell the listeners. Tell them why.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Arizona brought fans to Morgantown, and that was with Arizona in the NCAA tournament for men's basketball too. Like that boys travel. Like it wasn't like a huge contingent, but like there was a decent amount of fans that made me go, okay.
Well, hey,
okay.
It's a national champion. It's a national champion winning program as well.
Yeah.
Okay. With tremendous history. So, I mean, that is a great clash. And then you have Auburn and Coastal, a team in Auburn who's gone to Omaha a number of times. But it's really it's the comeback story for Auburn, given how poor they were a year ago. And Butch Thompson has them 2 wins away from getting back there. So, and LSU survived. To your point, survived. Man, they did not. Angel Cano is my dude. He deserves Ass Man honors, okay? All Schass squad for Angel Cano of Little Rock. Little Rock lost 13 of 14 entering their OVC tournament. They lost 13 of their last 14 games and then won 5 games in 4 days in the OVC. And then Angel Cano goes a combined 10 of 22 in 5 games in Baton Rouge, 4 home runs, 15 RBIs, had a 2-homer, 7 RBI game, and a 22-10 win over Rhode Island in Game 2 after losing 7-0 to LSU. And they led LSU 5-1 after a 2-spot in the early innings last night before the Tigers were able to flex their muscle and win that game. But good on Little Rock. Angel Cano, thank you. That is a legendary name that I will not forget for his performance this past weekend. But it's great on so many levels, Kahn. The amount of teams, the amount of different teams, the different leagues that are represented, the little guy is still there, and I think that's great for the game. Yeah. And I think it was just an amazing weekend on multiple levels.
It absolutely was. So a couple of things on that. First off, the update on the All Schass squad, because every time you have to add someone, I have to give the update. So here's the update, okay? So you got James Quinn Irons, an outfielder from George Mason. You got Jet Music, a 2-way player from Campbell, outfielder, right-handed pitcher. Maximus Martin, infielder from Kansas State. Blake Gillespie, right-handed pitcher from Charlotte. Malachi Knight, Washington outfielder. The D1 baseball staffers, Joe Healy would be our representative on the field. Jack Oman, right-handed pitcher, Yale. Liam Doyle, left-handed pitcher, Tennessee. Angel Cano, infielder from Little Rock. Is your latest ASS member for 2025. So you currently have 3 outfielders, 2 infielders. You have 3 right-handers, a lefty, and I don't even know what Joe Healy would play. Maybe Joe Healy could be our catcher. So that's your all Schass squad update. You bring up Angel Cano. I found a tweet on Angel Cano's story, and you need to hear it because it is incredible. So let me share my screen here. Let me put this tweet up. I'm going to share the tab audio as well. So just listen to this story of Little Rock's head coach describing Angel Cano's road to Little Rock.
At 14 or 15, was very close to being signed professionally. Had an injury the day before and did not get to sign. Had another situation where he was playing and as a high schooler and was very close to being drafted. Had an injury. Had to come over here in the States and play junior college baseball. Signed with another Power 4 program. Dives for a ball in the 4-hole. Injury, shoulder. Not able to go to that program, but I believe God has a plan for everybody and a purpose. Angel is a strong man of faith as well. He said that many times. He committed basically the night that we called him when Coach Parker got the job, and he knew about him. And we talked through the situation and what we had to offer, what we were looking for. And Angel is extremely intelligent. He's one of – so when you sign or commit these guys, there's a whole other process of application to school, housing, paperwork. Angel Cano might be the best player I've ever had at getting his paperwork turned in and done. But that just shows his attention to detail, more importantly, his desire to play. And he's had so many opportunities pulled away from him, but I believe it's all for this moment right here.
So that's Angel Cano's story. Like 5 different injuries. He was going to be signed out of Columbia, not Columbia, the Ivy League school, Columbia, the country, like COLOMBIA at 14 or 15 years old, injured, has to come over to the States, tries to play at Power 4, injured again, signs with another JUCO, injured again. Like the amount of adversity that guy has battled through, and now he shines at Alex Box Stadium and becomes he is the story of the Baton Rouge Regional. I know LSU won, but he is the story. And you have the numbers on Angel Cano. But what a weekend and what a story for that young man. I had to share that because I found that on Twitter, and it was fascinating.
That is incredible. Everything he's had to go through, the heartbreak, the injuries, the resiliency to come back and try to overcome one injury only to get injured again. I mean, my goodness, has that guy been through the ringer? Just an incredible, incredible story. Appreciate you sharing that, Kahn. And, everybody has their story, has their purpose. And again, how you overcome whatever adversity that comes your way, whatever challenges, whatever struggles, how you move forward is how ultimately you'll be defined. And Angel Cano is a great example of that. He epitomizes it vehemently. And that's awesome for him to have that moment at Alex Box Stadium this past weekend. Moments, plural, this weekend for that team that again struggled. They were terrible during the year. 13-14, 6-18 in the league.
Yeah.
Or 8-16. I mean, just what a story in a Game 7 at the Box Monday night. You have a lead to this is what baseball is about. And the ball can bounce in a funny way. And we saw that on full display this past weekend with the top 2 seeds going down with only 4 SEC teams remaining. The beauty of this game that we love so much was in motion for 4 consecutive days. And every single regional, you can pull something out. Every single team, you can pull something out. And to me, it's what makes the game so great.
I agree completely. 100%. Couldn't have put it better myself. Can I ask you a question, though? You bring up the top 2 seeds going down again, Vandy and Texas. What planet was Jim Schlossnagle on this past weekend? Because I don't know if it was planet Earth. I mean, did you see some of the quotes and the things he accidentally slipped up and said in the dugout? Like he was on a TV interview, accidentally said gig 'em instead of hook 'em. That was one. You sent me that. That was amazing. And then the second one is they asked him about the lack of crowd support this weekend. And he goes, well, it's difficult when 75% of your fan base actually attended UTSA. They've got no clue who to cheer for. And I was like, Oh no! What an incredible quote. Oh, I mean, he had some zingers this weekend, man. I don't know if he was just feeling himself or what, but it was something else. What Schloss was dealing out after Texas fell to UTSA in that regional final. He was on something. That was for sure.
Hey, hat tip too to Ed Service ending his career at Creighton.
Oh,
Mark
yeah.
Kingston. Mark Kingston will take over. He was the coach in waiting this year, the former South Carolina head coach. But, he was plenty familiar with Dave Van Horn from DVH's time coaching at Nebraska before coming to Arkansas, and an incredible career, 721, 420, and 1 in 22 years as the Creighton head coach, second winningest coach in the history of the Creighton athletic department. And the Arkansas social media team caught something that kind of raised the antenna of a lot of Hogs fans. DVH going up to service, then talking to each other after the game, and DVH being caught on the mic. And this was put out by social. I don't know necessarily if this is a display of affection, but certainly sirens are sounding for Hogs fans. DVH said, quote, "I'm not too far behind you," is what he said to Ed Service, which, look at DVH's age and how long he's been around. I mean, more than 900. It shouldn't be like groundbreaking news that, DVH might not be there for another, 10 years or 5 years. The days are numbered. Hell, if Arkansas wins this whole thing, I wouldn't put past DVH to ride off into the sunset. Now, hopefully no Arkansas fan just drove off the road, but you don't know. you have no idea. Super cool. I do have an SDA related to Arkansas, and unfortunately they were soft. Sorry, you were soft. I'm calling it as it is.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay, your tweet of Hog HAWG Hog Tua with one of the pitchers spitting a massive loogie on the field and being captured was sensational, but it has since been deleted. But still a social display of affection.
I thought it was hilarious. Great way to, bring back a viral sensation. What was that girl's name? Haley something? I don't remember. Whatever. Blonde chick, Southern chick that was you all know.
Yes.
I have an update on the UCLA situation. I'm getting more information. I'm getting more information to transition off of that to Jackie Robinson Stadium. Jackie Robinson Stadium has apparently been built, as you mentioned, on Veteran Affairs land. A judge apparently got involved last year and said the lease between UCLA and the VA is invalid because the land should directly be used to support veterans. However, they negotiated with the judge to allow them to play for at least this season. That means they paid more money in stadium rent. And the judge apparently is saying they would like them to build more housing for veterans on that land, but there is other undeveloped land in the meantime that they could start building that housing on instead of closing down Jackie Robinson Stadium. And at least if they're going to make them move, give them a few more years to find a new home. So it sounds like eventually they are going to be forced, not told to play elsewhere, but it sounds like a judge is escalating the situation, and that's what's causing all this hubbub right now. So apparently this field has been built on land that was reserved for veterans and to support veterans. And that's where the issue is. So there is no decision. No decision has been made, but that's the situation as it stands. Apparently UCLA had to practice at high schools and JUCO fields all fall because of this issue.
Wow.
But they were allowed to play at Jackie Robinson Stadium at least this year, but they don't know about the future. But that's the situation.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll continue to monitor. Kahn, we have a new
Nick Cope, by the way. Nick Cope. Thank you.
Yeah, Nick Cope. We have a new partner alert.
Damn right.
We talked with Josh Johns out at home field. What a bro. You want to find some guy that aligns beautifully with our brand, our energy, our enthusiasm. I mean, Josh takes it from a 10 and blows through the Richter scale. Okay? This guy is intense. He's awesome. He wants to work with us, and we're going to carry the flag for Home Field Apparel through the rest of this college baseball season. Go to homefieldapparel.com now. We'll have a discount code for you later in the week. Hopefully that'll be live. but we want to at least bring them up because we're incredibly grateful for Home Field wanting to align themselves with us and be a part of what we've done over the last 5-6 years in building this podcast, and certainly the last couple, the rebrand, the Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers, the new graphic package, the video elements, everything we've done. We've worked tirelessly to be here for you, the college baseball fan, and put our own spin on it. And Home Field appreciates that, and they've seen that. So you're seeing a special, unique diamond collection that has been launched and released on Home Field on their website. Yes. Again, yes. Home Field Apparel. Kahn, I know you are just as giddy as I am in what Home Field can bring to us over this final few weeks and what we can help deliver through our listener, through our consumer, through our viewer to Home Field and help introduce something truly special.
Absolutely. And just look at all the unique offerings they have. I mean, they've got so many different products. They got baseball tees, bomber jackets, hats, crew necks, hoodies, joggers, quarter zips, ringer tees, snapbacks, T-shirts, stickers. They've got so many schools. I mean, look at this list of schools. They have over, 190 partners, I think Josh said, and they're adding more as we speak. Like, yes. They are just they're only 6 years old, and they are skyrocketing right now. We love Home Field Apparel. We already own Home Field Apparel gear. We're going to get some more. We're going to show it off, and we're going to give you a discount code for 15% off, and you're going to buy some, because who doesn't like discounted gear? And we're going to give that to you right here on Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers with our partnership with Home Field Apparel. The code is coming, folks. It'll be on social media. We'll put it out there for you. We don't have it active yet, so we don't want to give it to you and it not work. We're not going to cheat you like that. As soon as the code is active, it's coming to you. Hopefully by Thursday's pod, we'll let you know.
However, we do feel pretty strongly it's going to be 3D15. So if you want to put that in your memory bank and then check back later in the week, and help us out, because this goes a long way in terms of us facilitating the conversation after this year into next year and maintaining that relationship with Home Field Apparel, homefieldapparel.com. If you know, you know, and if you don't know, prepare to just be completely blown away, because this high quality vintage like wear and even current logos and offerings. It's one of a kind. There's nothing like them. They've been around 6 years. They were able to survive COVID as an early startup and really were able to capitalize off that nostalgia feel. And Home Field is going to give you so much of that. I've already got plenty in my closet. I know Kahn might have an item or two, but more's on the way. So homefieldapparel.com. Help us celebrate an incredible entity and organization when it comes to the apparel game in collegiate sports. Okay, I've got 2 coach bites, kind of longer, a little more than a minute, that I want to get to, and then you got to empty the notebook, and we're going to get out of here. We'll look deeper at the Super Regionals coming up on Thursday's podcast. But Chris Pollard, we talked about Gracia's home run. They put a construction helmet on. I'm going to let Chris Pollard, because he does a great thing here of kind of encapsulating what happened and why, and just how berserk too and blasphemous this ruling was and this ejection was for Gracia, who later that inning, as you already laid out, Kahn, stepped onto the field and was wearing the helmet from when he hit the home run, and is going to be punished for it unless the NCAA, finds the balls to be able to reverse such a decision. But, I'm not holding out any hope on that.
Incredibly disappointed in the rule and in the way the rule was interpreted and executed tonight. AJ Gracia, who's one of the best players in college baseball, hit a home run earlier in the inning to put us within 1 run. We have a celebration in our dugout where we give the construction helmet to the player that makes a big play. It's a symbol of our blue-collar culture, and it's something that we rally around, and it gets our guys excited and creates energy. AJ was wearing the helmet because he had just hit the home run. Later in the inning, Sam Harris hits a single. We score from first on a single to take the lead in the championship game of a regional, to go to a super regional. Our guys are undoubtedly excited, and they should be. And they jump out of the dugout to high-five their teammates as they're running back over to the dugout. AJ still had the helmet on from where he had hit the home run and celebrated. He took 2 steps out of our dugout, not to show anybody up, not to be disrespectful of the game, not to disrespect Oklahoma State, to cheer on his teammate and give him high fives. This rule and this type of action by the umpire are why people get so frustrated with the NCAA. I'm disappointed for AJ Gracia that he won't play in one of the biggest games of his life. when we start the Super Regional. I'm disappointed for Duke baseball, and I'm disappointed for college baseball. And I want to get that off my chest. And if I get fined, I get fined. But we deserve better than that. AJ Gracia deserves better than that. And our sport deserves better than that.
Good on you, Chris Pollard. Very pointed, very passionate, very genuine response to the situation at Duke. I really have nothing more to say. Pollard laid it all out as eloquently as any head coach would in this situation. It is absurd that was the ruling. Thank you to our buddy Jack DeLongshaw for capturing that audio and helping to highlight that on social media this past weekend as he was in Athens. Thank you to Jack for filling in for me last week at the back end of the week with you, David
he Wally
Kahn.
pipped your ass. He Wally pipped you real bad.
Maybe he just replaces me full time. I don't know. Maybe we should ask him. I don't know what need you have for me anymore at this point. All I hear is Jack this, Jack that. Jack's awesome. Jack is freaking awesome, and he is
He's
way
now
better.
with 6'4" charts.
He's doing it all. He is doing it all. All right. He's making us feel very small, but hey,
Yes.
That's okay because that man deserves the world. He's on a rocket ship. So I don't know if you have anything else on Pollard's comments. I want to get to Kevin Schnall of Coastal Carolina and what happened with Kevin O'Sullivan so we can set that up and you can do so if you'd like.
So the only thing I have on Pollard's comments is this. The NCAA made the rule that you can't bring home run props onto the field as part of celebrating, all right? Because of like the hammer and the whatever other things people have to not – basically it was a safety thing, right? They didn't want you to slam a hammer and hurt somebody. I don't know, whatever. Or show, but I don't know. But they made the rule, no home run props on the field. Fine. It's stupid, but fine. Okay, fine. You do it in your own dugout. Duke followed the rule. They did the celebration in their own dugout. AJ Gracia just forgot he was wearing it. And also, it's a helmet. What's the big deal? It's a dang helmet. Like, it ain't going to hurt anybody. It's a hard hat. It's protecting him even more than his regular helmet is. So what are we doing here? Like, it's so ridiculous. All right. It's ridiculous that happened. It's ridiculous if the NCAA doesn't reverse that. And it's going to be even more ridiculous if Duke loses their own super regional to a 4-seed in Murray State, who's the 10th ever 4-seed, to make it out of a regional round. And as I mentioned, the third straight year an MVC team is in the super regionals and the fourth year in the last 5 because DBU did it in 21.
To Conway now. East Carolina and Coastal played very late on Saturday night. It was an 18-7 ball game that Coastal Carolina won. ECU then had to come back on Sunday. And you made this comment to me before we even knew all of this was happening with Kevin O'Sullivan, how the game got pushed back an hour to at least allow Coastal to have a little bit, or allow ECU to have a little bit more time after the late night, the night before. And television wasn't necessarily dictating this one as much. I think it was an ESPN Plus game. So Kevin O'Sullivan apparently found out in a manner that was not up to par with what he would have expected in terms of his team already arriving at the ballpark, anticipating a 12 noon start, whatever their plans and pregame preparations look like. And trust me, folks, it should come as no surprise that these teams, these players, these coaches are creatures of habit. We go through this every year when we're in Hoover. We get a front row seat to it. Yeah, sometimes there are changes, but you are held hostage, all of us, to what the head coach is dictating and deciding at all times. And a change was made, and it was not made in a way that really benefited or was to the liking of Kevin O'Sullivan, and finding out that the game would be pushed back an hour. So I'm going to let Coastal's head coach, again, Coastal Carolina not directly involved with that game at 1 o'clock. However, them as the host site and Kevin Schnall as the face of this program and the head coach for the host Coastal Carolina team that ultimately won the regional, had an opportunity to sound off on what had been surfacing on social media with some videos that picked up O'Sullivan losing his mind, berating stadium staffers, regional, committee members, officials, ECU catching strays on the field. Everybody was feeling the ire of Kevin O'Sullivan. And here's Kevin Schnall, the head coach of Coastal Carolina, who will provide more context to everything.
One last thing I have is I have to say this, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I believe in standing up for what's right, and what transpired this morning on our field. Another coach disrespected our associate AD, who works as hard as anybody in our entire program. He disrespected our field crew who are the salt of the earth, these guys would do anything for our program, is not okay. And this needs to be brought up. Absolutely disrespectful. As a coach, it's our job to mentor young kids. And the way he treated the 2 site reps, the way he treated our associate AD, the way he treated our field crew is absolutely unacceptable. And that's what I'm most disappointed about. This is a national champion coach who thinks he can come in here and try to bully people around. Disappointed. Disappointed, somebody that a lot of coaches look up to. For him to act that way, really disappointed. He disrespected a Hall of Fame coach who's the site rep here. That's all I got to say.
Super powerful stuff. I'll allow anyone willing to draw their own conclusions off of that, do their own investigative work, look at the images. I will say this, Kahn, and there's nothing more you can say in terms of the gravity of this moment and how it was perceived and the bad look that this is for Kevin O'Sullivan and certainly the Florida program before ultimately they bowed out to ECU in that game is, look, you and I have both been around Kevin O'Sullivan. You have interviewed him in Hoover. Sully can give off an intimidating vibe, but he's really not a nasty man in any way. He's a dude. He's a bro. He's cool. I've had nothing but genuine and good experiences around him, and you can speak to this, but I think it's a matter of bad things can happen to good humans, and they may react in less than desirable ways because we all are human. And I think that was just a bad character moment that Sully would likely admit at this stage that probably he reacted poorly and wish he could have that moment back. And I don't think this should be an indictment on who Sully is. It's going to be viewed that way by the opposing fans, certainly those of Coastal, certainly those of ECU. And I get all that. That's part of fandom. That's part of all this. But I think it was just a bad day, a bad moment for Kevin O'Sullivan.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely acted inappropriately, and he and the Florida program have since apologized, releasing a statement, I believe, yesterday, apologizing for their actions after everything went out from Kevin Schnall, who rightfully called him out and was like, yo, you shouldn't do that. And he's right. And the thing about it is, like, yeah, like you said, teams are creatures of habit. And so when you find out late, which as far as I know, the decision was made early in the morning before they played that game, so not the night before, that your game is being moved back an hour, it throws off your whole pregame routine. And I get it. You're upset. My thing is this. The game was moved back an hour. It wasn't moved up. So theoretically, like, I get it. You're coming to the ballpark at a certain time and you want to go. You don't want to stop. But, like, you got an extra hour to warm up. You got an extra hour to eat or whatever you need to do. You can stretch a little longer. You can take a little more time in the cages. If you're mad about it, fine. But have those conversations behind closed doors. It happened on the concourse. Like, fans were videoing this.
Yeah.
And it's just a really bad look to do it that way. And I'm not saying you should have spouted off on them at all, because that was wrong too. But if you're going to scream at people, don't do it where people can whip out their phones and record it. Like that, it's just a poor choice. And you shouldn't scream people anyways. Screaming is never the answer. You can talk it out, use words, not elevated tone. But it's a really bad look. That's all it is. But I agree. I've talked with Kevin O'Sullivan multiple times. You have as well. He's a good guy. He made a poor choice. He apologized. And we need to accept that those words are truthful, because that's all we can do. We're not around the Florida program 24/7. We only can see what is outward facing on social media from this weekend. And we can say that was a poor choice by Kevin O'Sullivan. He has apologized, and we certainly, hope that it never happens again. But that's really all we can say about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll leave it at that. There could be other rumors floating around in terms of things directed at ECU. A guy like Parker Bird, we all know his story. We've documented that. The whiteboard ECU has in the dugout. Sully was taking out his frustration on anyone and everyone. Allegedly, we don't know. We're not there. It's a bad look. They apologized and take it at face value and decide how you want to proceed with your own life moving forward and how you view Kevin O'Sullivan. It's not going to really change the way I personally feel about him, nor do I think it will for you, Kahn. So that's all I have for this pod. Before you empty your clip, empty your notebook, and now who's going to be the head coach at Virginia? Who's going to be a head coach at Georgia Tech? Like, I don't know. Maybe you have some information you want to share with me in terms of Kendall Rogers' big board with D1Baseball.com.
Let's save that for Thursday. Save that for Thursday.
Yeah, maybe we save that. I'm glancing to see if there's anything else I can possibly talk about. There isn't.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. LSU Shreveport, baby.
Oh, my gosh. You're absolutely right. LSU Shreveport. You know what they deserve? LSU Shreveport, after a 59-0 perfect season, national champions. Yes. They deserve some new grilling tools from Baseball Barbecue. Maybe we should send them a package. Maybe we should send them a package. We need to get some LSU Shreveport branded materials. We'll hit up Brett, have him send it down to Shreveport. Use our promo code. Really, let's try to save them some money off this too. 3D20, get 20% off. Go to baseballbarbecue.com. Collegiate partners, Major League Baseball partners, customize cutting boards and grilling utensils, rubs, sauces. There's apparel, racks, grill. It's all there. Go to baseballbarbecue.com. 3D-20. Thank you to Baseball Barbecue. But yes, 59-0. Incredible. They did it.
They did it. So I have the numbers. They are the NAIA World Series champions. Duh. 8 wins by 15 or more runs, a 361 team batting average, a ERA of 2.38, a 192 opponent batting average, the longest winning streak in college baseball. Some more numbers. They beat the Southeastern University Fire to win the NAIA Baseball Championship. They're the first team in men's college baseball history to go undefeated. They were down twice, end up scoring 8 unanswered runs to win 13-7 in the championship to beat the Southeastern University Fire. On the season, the Pilots lineup averaged more than 11 runs per game. 11 runs per game in the lineup. That's wild. They've also established the new highest single season winning percentage in NAIA history. The highest winning percentage in D1 history. Arizona State 1972 is 91%. This is higher than that as well. It also beats Mount Vernon Nazarene in Ohio, which had a 93.5% winning percentage. That was the highest. No one's ever been perfect. This is the best team ever, essentially, LSU Shreveport. So bravo to the Pilots. They did it. 59-0. 59-0. They freaking did it. Absolutely sensational.
When I think of the number 59, I will forever think of LSU Shreveport.
Absolutely.
I don't know if there's a famous 59 I'm probably forgetting, especially the Chicago Bears fan in me. I don't think I should have my fandom pulled from me, but I will ponder that as I exit stage left here off this podcast today. Do you have anything else you need to bring to the table before I end this stream?
One more thing. We have one more Little Rock guy I need to shout out. Their pitcher, Malcolm Brown, who threw 5 1/3 innings to beat LSU on Sunday. That was on his son's first birthday that Malcolm Brown did that in Baton Rouge. And that was before this baseball season began. He went to his head coach, Coach Curry, and said, Coach, I'm going to retire. I need a job to support my family. I have a kid who's not even 1 yet. I need to go be a dad. And Coach Curry said, son, finish school first. And he did. And then he goes out and does that on his son's first birthday. Really cool moment. That is my dude of the week. SDA's all around to everything regional wise, and hat tip to the rundown as well. But that's my dude, Malcolm Brown, right there.
There was a cool thing. That is awesome. Good on Malcolm Brown. Wake Forest, one quick note. I know their season has come to an end, but they adopted a slogan called No 0 Days, something that Tom Walter had gotten wind of earlier this year. I saw the story circulating. Peter Boritz has been battling cancer in the New York northeastern area, I believe it was. Brain cancer he's been dealing with and taking the fight to it. And Tom Walter and the Wake team got wind of this and, certainly epitomized what the program had stood for. And Wake really took Peter Boritz into their Wake baseball family and adopted the slogan, quote, No 0 Days, which Tom Walter got wind of and implemented that into his team's mantra and they had T-shirts and proceeds from the purchase went to the Lenox Hill Cancer Center in New York. So I know Michelle at the front had shared that story with me. So I wanted to bring that to light. Pretty cool. So look that up if you'd like. See if there's a way to help Peter Boritz and his family and cancer research and certainly what he's battling. And Wake, that was a hell of a weekend this past weekend in Knoxville. It took a lot of offense. It took some – man, that freshman pitcher, this is what I'll leave you with. Did you see – it was in the win where they walked off with the walk on Sunday night. Yeah. Did you see the pitcher for Wake? He wears number 28. I already looked this up, but maybe you can do it while I tell the story real quick, and then we're gone. Number 28 for Wake Forest. He's a freshman. Big Italian dude. You can tell. Just look at his face. Gives up the game-tying home run at 6. But before the home run happened, this guy's as keyed up as anyone I've ever seen on the mound, man. He's throwing to the backstop. He's wild. He can't find the strike zone. But after he sent one to the backstop, the dude is punching his head on the mound. It reminded me of the Tweakin' Deacon. It was amazing.
You're referring to Reese Bowie, by the way.
Yeah, this guy is wild. And then it reminds me of, I think it's Cardone for Coastal Carolina when he came in relief against ECU in the win Sunday night. Guy recorded the final 2 outs of the 8th inning via strikeout, 6 pitches, 2/3 of an immaculate inning, then came in to close the door in the 9th. And I don't believe he threw a ball either. He didn't throw a single ball and was able to close the door in the 1-0 win. This guy was warming up in the bullpen without his hat on and just his bandana around his hair. And I'm glad the telecast brought attention to it. I think Tom Walker was there in Conway. He's like, does he know he's got to put that hat on when he goes in the pit? It was awesome stuff. It was so much fun, man. I'm looking forward to Super Regional Weekend. We'll talk about it on Thursday.
I have one more thing. I'm sorry. I have to close with this because we didn't talk about it, and it needs to be mentioned. Oklahoma softball. Done.
They're done.
They're done. Texas and Texas Tech. The strive for 5 is over for Oklahoma softball. Texas Tech, what a thriller. Oklahoma just down to their final strike last night. Tied it. Abby Dayton ties it, and then Texas Tech walks it off in the bottom of the 7th. They are done. So that means, Kyle Schassberger, the SEC that had the number 2 overall seed in football, the number 1 overall seed in men's basketball, the number 1 overall seed in softball, the number 1 overall seed in baseball, and none of those teams made the championship game and won the regional. None of them.
Wow.
And yes, that was Texas A&M, the number 1 overall seed in softball, but Oklahoma was number 2, and they'd won 4 in a row.
At SportsCom4, at Kyle Schass. We'll be back with Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers on Thursday. Thank you to all who watch on YouTube. Subscribe if you haven't already, who listen on the College Sports Now podcast feed. The Women's College World Series does begin Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, Texas and Texas Tech. A 2 out of 3 championship series Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday if necessary. We'll drop some of that in on Thursday's pod. Thank you for being with us.